You know how life is, it always surprises you, when you least expect it. I was attending a high-profile charity gala organized by one of the company's biggest clients. I didn't really want to go, but my friend Mark insisted that it would do me good, that I needed to get out more. So I went, and I'm really glad I did. I walked into the lavish ballroom and all eyes turned to me. Not because of me, but because of the stunning woman I had the pleasure of walking arm in arm with. Her name was Sasha. She was tall, with long dark brown hair that fell in a waterfall, a hot body, and was wearing a dress that was the perfect blend of elegance and daring. She was full of confidence and outshone everyone else in the room. As we talked and laughed, I noticed a familiar face across the room. It was my wife, Claire. Her eyes widened when she saw me, as if she had just seen a ghost. I hadn't told her I was here, and clearly she didn't expect to see me, especially not with someone like Sasha. Claire left the crowd, striding past her eyes without leaving Sasha. Her face twisted into a look of disdain, and without even acknowledging me, she turned to Sasha and spat, "How could you sleep with that man? He is weak in bed and a failure in life." There was silence in the room. Everyone's gaze focused on our trio. Sasha did not flinch, but looked Clay up and down and answered the security guard in a calm but loud enough voice. "Who let this bitch in?" The crowd gasped, and within seconds several security guards appeared. Claire's face turned red with anger and embarrassment, and she tried to regain her composure, but Sasha didn't let up. She sneered a little and added, "Next time you want to insult someone, make sure you're not standing on shaky ground." Claire tried to respond, but before she could, Mark, who had been watching from afar, came over and said, "Clay, you should go." Security escorted her out, but not before she shouted at me, "You will regret this. Do you hear me? You will regret this." I turned to look at Sasha, who was now the center of attention, and she just shrugged. Well, that was dramatic as the night wore on. I couldn't help but think of the irony of it all. My so-called weak and loser husband holding his head high, while Kela's web of lies began to unravel. What Claire didn't know was that tonight was just the beginning, that the real show was about to begin, and I was ready for the fireworks the next day. I woke up to a barrage of text messages and missed calls from Claire. She alternated between apologies and threats, desperation and anger, but I'd had enough of her manipulative games. I needed to take control of my life and set things straight. I sat down with my coffee when my phone rang again. It was Mark. "Hey man, do you have time for lunch? We need to talk about last night." "No problem," I reply. I know that Mark has a deeper understanding of Claire's quirks, and I'm keen to hear what he has to say. We meet at our usual place, a small, quiet restaurant that's perfect for a private conversation. As soon as I enter, I see Mark sitting at the corner table, looking serious. "Hey," I go over and sit down. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, concerned. Apparently so. Surprisingly, Mark came over to me and said, "I have some news and it's not good." Claire had not only lied about her affair, but also told many other lies. I wasn't completely shocked, but I still felt a twitch in my stomach. "What do you mean?" "She told lies about you to anyone who would listen, portrayed herself as the victim, even tried to damage your reputation at work, but the worst thing was that she embezzled money from your joint account." I felt a surge of anger. "How did you find out?" Mark explained that I had a friend at the bank who noticed some irregular transactions. We looked into it further and found that she had been transferring money to another account. Transferring money. Unbelievable, I muttered. I trusted her. "Yes, it was time to take action. I've already spoken to a lawyer on your behalf. You need to freeze the account and collect all possible evidence. Things are going to get messy." I nodded, thanking Marcus for his help. "Thanks, mate. I don't know what I'd do without you. You've done the same for me." That afternoon I took Marcus's advice and called the bank to freeze the account and arrange a meeting with a lawyer. I also started collecting all the evidence I could find, including texts, emails, and financial statements. I wasn't going to let CLA ride me anymore. That evening, CLA stormed into the house. She had a mask of anger on her face, and she waved a piece of paper at me, shouting, "What the hell is this?" It was a notice from the bank. I'm protecting myself. I calmly said, "You have been cheating me and stealing from me, but now it's over." She let out a hollow laugh and said, "You think you can get rid of me? I'll ruin you. I'll take everything from you. Good luck." I replied, "I've already spoken to a lawyer. You think you can get away with this?" Her eyes narrowed. "You think you're so clever, don't you? You'll be sorry. You have no idea what I'm capable of." She stormed out of the house, and I felt a strange sense of relief. The battle was far from over, but I was ready. Claire had shown her true colors, and now it was my turn to strike back. The days ahead were a whirlwind of legal meetings, bank visits, and sleepless nights. Mark was a rock, always there for me, making sure I had everything I needed. A lawyer, a shrewd and formidable woman called Laura, represented me in my relentless pursuit of justice. One afternoon, while sorting through old files in the attic, I stumbled across an old box full of memories. Inside were photos of happy times, souvenirs from vacations, and letters from Claire's letters. As I leafed through them, I noticed a crumpled piece of paper tucked at the bottom. It was a handwritten note from someone named Jack, detailing a passionate night he had spent with Claire. My hands trembled as I read it. The date was a few years ago, long before her most recent infidelity. I took a deep breath and decided it was time for a real confrontation. I called Keeley and told her to come home. We needed to talk. I spoke firmly, and when she arrived, her face was clouded with defiant mockery. "Now what?" she said suddenly. "I found this," I said, holding up Jack's note. "How long have you been cheating on me?" Her eyes widened, but she quickly regained her composure. "It was a long time ago. It's nothing. Nothing. You've betrayed me for years, Claire. How many others?" She crossed her arms and gave a cold look. "Does it matter? We're finished. Give me the money and I'll leave your life." "Your money?" I laughed bitterly. "You've taken enough. It's over now." Just as things were about to escalate, the doorbell rang. It was Sasha, the charming woman from the dinner party, and a couple of policemen. "Is everything all right?" one of the officers asked. Glancing between me and CLA, I calmly said that I had discovered that my wife had embezzled money from our joint account. Calay's face went pale. "Do you have any proof?" "I can and I will," I replied, handing the officer all the evidence Mark and I had collected. Sasha stepped forward, her presence drawing everyone's attention. "Claire, this ends here. You must leave immediately." Claire looked as if she wanted to argue, but the presence of the police officer made her think twice. She grabbed a few belongings and stormed out. As she left, she hurled abuse, saying, "This isn't over, and you'll all regret it." The door slammed shut behind her. I felt the weight on my shoulders finally lift. Sasha turned to me with a relieved smile. "You did the right thing. Now it's time to rebuild." Over the next few weeks, everything slowly fell into place. The court froze Claire's accounts and initiated proceedings to recover the stolen funds. Laura was convinced we had a strong case, and Mark had been a rock of support. One evening, Sasha and I were sitting on the porch. I felt a sense of calm. "Thank you for everything." I looked into her eyes, and she smiled and placed her hand in mine. "You are stronger than you think. This is just the beginning of a new chapter." As we sat there watching the sun set, I realized that despite all the pain and betrayal, I was ready to move on. Claire's lies had been exposed, and now it was my turn to find happiness and peace. In the weeks following Claire's dramatic exit, I was busy with court appearances, testimony, and endless paperwork. Every new discovery about her deception felt like a fresh wound, but I was determined to get through it with Mark and Sasha. I knew I could handle whatever came next. One afternoon, I received a call from Laura. She said she had some news about Claire that you might want to sit down and hear. I braced myself for what it might be. "We found out that Claire had not only embezzled money from you, she was also involved in a major fraud scheme that had defrauded several other people. It was worse than we had originally thought." I felt a mixture of shock and anger. How could we not have discovered this earlier? Laura explained that she had covered her tracks, but now that we had evidence, we could bring other charges that would help your case considerably. The news was both a relief and a pressure. Claire's betrayal of me was worse than I had thought, but it also meant that she would face serious legal consequences. That evening, as I was sorting through more documents, I found an old diary belonging to Claire S. I hesitated for a moment, then opened it. The entries depicted a long-term unhappy woman, but instead of seeking help or ending it amicably, she chose deception and betrayal. One entry in particular caught my attention. "Jake makes me feel alive again, like I haven't felt in years, but it's not just him, it's the thrill of it all, the secrets, the lies, the intoxication. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop reading her diary. It feels like a punch in the stomach." She wasn't just unhappy. She was addicted to the chaos she created. It was clear that Claire had been on a self-destructive path for years. The next morning, I took the diary to Laura, which might explain her motives. I said. Laura nodded. It's really bad, but it also explains her pattern of behavior, which supports your claim. As the trial date approached, we used the diary as evidence. I felt a mixture of anxiety and determination. Claire had tried to break me, but I was still standing. Now I had to face her for the last time. The court was packed on the day of the hearing. Claire sat opposite me, her face a mask of defiance, and her bravado faltered when she saw the mountain of evidence against her, including the diary. The judge listened intently as Laura presented our case. When it was Claire's turn to speak, she tried to play the victim, but it was clear that the evidence was overwhelming. I never meant to hurt anyone. Tears streamed down her face as she said this. I've lost my way. I've made terrible choices, but I love my husband, and I want to make things right. I felt a pang of sadness for the woman I once loved. A woman I once loved, but I couldn't let her words sway me. The judge saw through her act and handed down a harsh sentence. Claire was ordered to repay the misappropriated funds and was sentenced to community service and probation. As we left the courtroom, I felt a sense of relief. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was a step towards starting my life again. That evening, we met up with Mark and Sasha at our favorite bar. We raised our glasses and toasted to a new beginning. Mark said, "Clink glasses to show you're moving on." Sasha added with a smile. Looking at my friends, I realized that despite everything, I was grateful. Claire's betrayal had shown me who my real friends were and given me the courage to fight for myself. After the court case, life began to settle into a new rhythm. CLA was out of my life, and I was focusing on rebuilding my relationship with Sasha. Our bond grew stronger and stronger, and Mark remained my steadfast friend. I thought the worst was over, but life took another turn. One evening, Sasha and I were having dinner when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, but answered it anyway. "Hello, is this Jack?" a woman's voice asked, sounding a little hesitant. "Yes, who's asking?" "My name is Rebecca. I don't know how to say this, but I think we need to talk about CLA." My heart skipped a beat. "What's wrong with her? I can explain everything over the phone. Can we meet?" We agreed to meet the next day at a quiet bistro. Sasha, who had always been supportive, offered to come with me, but I felt I needed to deal with this alone. When I arrived at the bistro, a woman in her 30s was already sitting there, nervously stirring her coffee. She asked when I arrived, and I nodded as I sat down. "What's going on?" Rebecca took a deep breath. "I'm CLA's sister." It flashed through my mind that CLA had never mentioned a sister. I didn't know she had a sister. "There's a lot you don't know," Rebecca said softly. "We've been estranged for many years. Until recently, I didn't even know she was married. But there are things you need to know that she's been hiding from everyone." Rebecca's story was shocking. Claire had been married twice before, both marriages ending in chaos and scandal, leaving Claire with a trail of deception and financial ruin. She had changed her name, moved across the country to start a new life, erasing her past each time as if it had never existed. "I'm so sorry," Rebecca said, her eyes filling with tears. "I didn't want to believe it, but when I heard what had happened to you, I had to come forward. I was stunned. CLA's history of manipulation and deception goes deeper than I ever imagined. Why are you telling me this now? I've tried to contact her, but she doesn't want to talk to me. I wanted to warn you and help you understand who she really is." After we met, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. That night, I met up with Sasha and Mark, who were as shocked as I was, and that changed everything. Mark shook his head and said she was a professional liar. Sasha nodded, and we needed to find a way to use this information, which could help your case and protect others. I contacted my lawyer Laura and explained the situation to her, and she was stunned by this new information. "Jack, if we can prove her past, it will not only strengthen your case, but also prevent her from doing it to other people." Over the next few weeks, evidence of Claire's past was collected. Rebecca provided old photos, letters, and even court documents from Claire's previous marriage. Laura meticulously pieced together a timeline of Claire's deceitful life. Finally, we had enough evidence to reopen the case. Claire was summoned back to court, and this time the evidence was irrefutable. The judge was shocked by her history and doubled her financial compensation. Claire was also ordered to undergo psychological assessment and counseling. As we left the courtroom, Rebecca came up to me. "Thank you for listening and believing in me," she said. "I'm sorry for everything you've been through, and I'm grateful that you came forward." I replied that it hadn't been easy. Rebecca gave a faint smile and said that it was the least I could do. As the trial was finally over, I felt a sense of calm. Claude's true nature had been revealed, and justice had been done. Looking at Sasha and Mark, I knew I had the support and love I needed to move on. Clay's true nature had been revealed, and the trial was finally over. I began to feel a sense of relief. It was time to move forward and leave the past behind, but life had other plans. One evening, Sasha and I were enjoying a quiet dinner at home when my phone suddenly rang with a text message from an unknown number. "Jack, Neil, we need to talk. It's about Claire." I looked at the text message, and Sasha, like me, couldn't think of the name for a moment. I showed the text message to Sasha, and she, like me, was puzzled. "Who could it be?" "I don't know," replied, but it sounded important, and we agreed to meet the next day in the local park. When I arrived, a tall, serious-looking man was waiting for me. Jack extended his hand and asked if I was Neil Clay, whom we had met a long time ago. "It's nice to meet you, Neil," I said, shaking his hand. Neil took a deep breath. I was Claire's first husband. Many thoughts flashed through my mind. Rebecca had mentioned Claire's previous marriage, but meeting one of her ex-husbands in person was surreal. "What do you want to talk about?" "I heard what happened between you and Claire," Neil says, his voice full of regret. "I went through something similar. After CLA left, she left me in the ruins, just like she did with you. But there's more you need to know." Neil explains that after CLA left him, she manipulated and cheated several other people. He tried to warn them, but Claire was always one step ahead. "I have some information that could help you. There is evidence that CLA has been running these scams for years," he said. Sitting on a park bench, Neil showed me documents, emails, and photos that painted a terrible picture of Claire's manipulative behavior. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "I'm still trying to deal with everything." Neil's expression was grim, "Because I don't want anyone else to suffer like I have. Claire destroys everything she touches. If we work together, we can make sure she can't hurt anyone else." I agreed to work with Neil because I knew his information could be invaluable in the coming weeks. Neil and I delved deeper into Claire's past, and we discovered more victims, each with their own heartbreaking stories of betrayal and deception. It was clear that the impact of Claire's manipulative behavior had been far-reaching. And during this time, my relationship with Sasha grew stronger. She was my rock and was always there to support and encourage me. Mark, too, remained a source of strength and friendship, and together we formed a small but determined team dedicated to exposing Claire's true nature. One day, as we were piecing together the final pieces of evidence, we got a call from Laura Jack. "You're not going to believe this," she said, her voice full of excitement. "We had found a way to bring criminal charges against CLA. With Neil's evidence and the testimony of the other victims, we could build a case. This was the breakthrough we had been hoping for." Laura moved quickly to submit the necessary documents to reopen the case and bring criminal charges. Claire was arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. The trial was fierce, and CLA did everything it could to avoid conviction, but the evidence was overwhelming. Neil testified along with several other victims, exposing the ugly face of Claire's fraudulent life. The jury found her guilty of all charges. Claire was sentenced to several years in prison, and I felt a great sense of relief. Justice had been served, and Claire would never be able to hurt anyone else again. Neil and I met for the last time. "Thank you," I said, shaking his hand. "I could never have done this without you." Neil gave a faint smile. "Together we did it, and I hope that brings some comfort to Claire's victims." As I left, I felt a sense of peace. Claire's reign of terror was over, and I could finally start rebuilding my life, with Sasha and Mark by my side. I knew I had the support and love to move on. Being trapped in the house and her manipulative schemes had finally been exposed. I felt a deep sense of relief. It was time to rebuild my life, free from the shadow of deceit and betrayal. With Sasha and Mark by my side, I was ready to welcome a new chapter. Life slowly returned to normal. Sasha and I grew closer and closer, and our relationship grew stronger every day. Her unwavering support and love had been my anchor during the storm, and now we were able to focus on our future. One sunny Saturday morning, Sasha suggested we go on a picnic. She said we needed a break, and her eyes sparkled with excitement. Let's get away for a weekend and just relax." I couldn't agree more. We packed our bags and headed to a charming seaside town. The salty sea air, the sound of the waves lapping the shore, and the feel of the sand between our toes were just what we needed. We spent the whole day browsing the quaint shops, dining at a local seafood restaurant, and simply enjoying each other's company. One evening, as we watched the sun set over the ocean, Sasha turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Jack, what do you want to do next? Now that it's all behind us, what are your dreams?" Her question took me by surprise. Because my life had been so dominated by the chaos that CLA had brought about that I hadn't had time to think about my own wishes. I took a deep breath and considered her question. I've always wanted to start my own business. I admit that I'm passionate about interior design, and I've always dreamed of opening a boutique that focuses on sustainable and environmentally friendly design. Sasha's eyes lit up. "That's an amazing idea, and you should go for it. I'll support you every step of the way." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of excitement about the future. When we got home, I started putting my plans into action. With Sasha's help, I drew up a business plan, applied for a small loan, and started setting up my own interior design company. Meanwhile, Mark, a loyal friend, lent his expertise. With his marketing background, he helped me create a brand identity that would resonate with potential clients. Together, we set up a website, designed promotional materials, and established contacts with local businesses. I received invaluable help from Sasha and Mark. My company, Oasis Design, quickly gained traction. Clients were drawn to our commitment to sustainability and innovative design solutions. I poured my heart and soul into each project, finding fulfillment in creating beautiful, environmentally friendly spaces. One day, while working on a particularly challenging project, I got a call. "Neil, hey Jack, how's everything going?" "Everything's great, Neil. I've started my own business and it's going really well," I answered. "That's great to hear." Neil said that I was calling because there was an opportunity that I thought UDB would be perfect for. I have been working with a non-profit organization that is dedicated to building sustainable housing for low-income families. They are looking for a designer with your skills and passion. I was intrigued, so please tell me more. Neil explained that Eco Homes, a non-profit organization dedicated to creating affordable eco-friendly housing solutions, needed someone to lead the design team and oversee the project, which sounded like a perfect fit for my interests and values. Without hesitation, I said it sounded like an incredible opportunity. Joining Eco Homes was a game-changing opportunity. I balanced my time between the company and the nonprofit, and gained a great sense of satisfaction from using my skills to make a positive impact on the community. Working with Neil and the dedicated team at Eco Homes, we changed people's lives again and again, building sustainable homes. As the days passed, I realized that I had grown a lot. The turmoil of the past had left me behind, and I was thriving in a way I never thought possible. Sasha and I were stronger than ever, and I had found a new purpose in my work. One evening, Sasha and I sat on the porch of our new home, and she turned to me with love and pride in her eyes. "Jack, you've come so far, and I'm so proud of you." I smile and squeeze her hand. "I couldn't have done it without you. Mark, you've always been there for me when I needed you most." "We're a team," she whispers. As we look up at the stars, I feel an overwhelming sense of peace and contentment. My journey has been full of unexpected twists and turns, but it has given me strength and happiness. Sasha and Mark are by my side. I'm ready for whatever the future may bring. Life has entered a new, fulfilling phase. My company, Green Spaces Design, is booming, and my work on ecological housing brings me great satisfaction. Sasha and I have moved into a new home, a beautiful, eco-friendly house that we designed together. Mark continues to appear in our lives, giving us unwavering support. One morning, as I was preparing for a meeting, I got a call from Laura. "My lawyer, Jack, says, I need to see you. Something important has happened." My heart sank. What had happened? "About Kala," she said in a serious tone. "Can you come to my office today?" I agreed and headed to Laura's office. Various possibilities flashed through my mind. When I arrived, she greeted me with a gloomy expression. "Jack, we've received some disturbing news. Claire has appealed her sentence." I felt a wave of frustration. How could she do that? The evidence was conclusive. Laura nodded. It's a long process, but she claims she didn't get a fair trial and her lawyer is asking for a retrial because of new evidence. I clenched my fists and Laura sighed. They're claiming that some of the documents we used were obtained illegally. It's a delaying tactic, but we have to prepare for the worst. I took a deep breath to try to steady my emotions. What can we do? We'll fight it all the way, Laura said firmly. But I need you to be prepared for anything. This could get messy. As I left her office, my mind was racing. Claire's appeal threatened the new life I had built for myself, and I couldn't let her drag me back into her mess. When I told Sasha and Mark about the appeal, they were furious. She can keep doing this to you, Sasha said, her eyes flashing with anger. We'll fight her together. Mark nodded. Whatever you need, Jack, we're behind you. We're behind you. I prepared for the battle to come. Laura and I worked tirelessly to counter Claire's claims, gathering new evidence and strengthening our arguments. The pressure was intense, but I refused to let Claire win. One night, I worked late, and Neil called Jack. I heard about the appeal. How are you doing? It's been tough, I admit, but we're working on it. Neil was silent for a moment, and then he said, There's something you should know. I've been investigating Claire's past, and I've found something that could help you. CLA manipulated in previous marriages. Evidence of her manipulation in previous marriages. I found witnesses who are willing to testify about her manipulative tactics. This could discredit her appeal. I felt a fire of hope burning in my heart. This is incredible. Neil, thank you, whatever you can do to help us. He said that with Neil's new evidence, we will definitely be able to overcome. Our case was getting stronger by the day. On the day of the appeal hearing, I walked into the courtroom with Sasha, Mark, and Neil. Claire was there too, looking defiant, but I felt a sense of determination. The hearing was tense. Claire's lawyers presented their case, but Laura and I countered every point with solid evidence. As Neil and the other witnesses testified, the truth about Claire's manipulative tactics came to light, and her appeal was based on lies. The judge retired to consider the evidence and weigh the pros and cons. Finally, he returned and announced the verdict. The appeal was rejected and the original sentence upheld. I felt a sense of relief and victory. Claire's attempt to destroy my life had failed. When we left the courtroom, Sasha gave me a tight hug. It was all over. Jack, you did it. Mark patted me on the back. You stuck to your guns. I'm proud of you. Neil smiled. Claire's appeal was rejected and justice was served. I could finally move on and no longer be overshadowed by her deception. My attention returned to my business and the work on the eco-home, and life returned to normal. One evening, I was sitting on the porch with Sasha when she said to me with a smile, Jack, I've been thinking. What do you say we take a trip together? We deserve a break. I grinned. What a great idea. Where should we go? Her eyes sparkled as she said it. As long as we were together, we planned a holiday in a remote cabin in the mountains. There, we could relax and reconnect. A trip was just what we needed, quiet, peaceful, and full of love. One evening, we were sitting by the fireplace when Sasha looked at me with a serious expression. Jack, I have something to tell you. What is it? I asked, curious and worried. She took my hand and smiled. I'm pregnant. The word stunned me for a moment, then I felt a rush of joy. Really? That's incredible. She nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. We're going to have a baby, Jack. I pulled her into my arms, feeling deeply happy and hopeful for the future. After all we'd been through, this new chapter felt like a gift. Sasha's pregnancy filled our lives with joy and excitement. After all we'd been through, starting a family felt like a new beginning. The next few weeks were spent planning, preparing, and dreaming about our future. One sunny afternoon, while we were decorating the baby's room, my phone rang. It was Laura. Jack. I need to see you, it's urgent. I looked at Sasha, who looked worried. I got there as quickly as I could. In Laura S.'s office, I braced myself for whatever news she might bring, and for what was really going on. As soon as I sat down, I asked, and Laura took a deep breath and said, It's about CLA. She's been making allegations against you, claiming that you abused her during the marriage. She's trying to reduce her sentence and possibly gain some advantage in the civil case. I was stunned. This was a complete lie. How could she do this? It was a desperate move, but we had to take it seriously. Laura said we needed to gather character witnesses and any evidence that would refute her claims, which could get messy, as a wave of frustration washed over me as I left Laura S.'s office. Claire's endless attempts to destroy my life seemed endless. When I got home, I explained the situation to Sasha and Mark, who just wanted to give up, Sasha said, her eyes flashing with anger. We won't let her destroy our happiness. Mark nodded. We'll find people who can testify on your behalf. With the support of Sasha and Mark, who knew that Claire's claims were false, I began contacting friends, colleagues, and family to testify to my character and my relationship with CLA. The process was exhausting, but I knew it was necessary. One evening, Sasha and I were going through the list of potential witnesses when my phone rang. Neil Jack had sent a message. I've done some research, and I think I've found something that can refute CLA's allegations. We agreed to meet the next day, and Neil came over with a stack of documents. These were emails and text messages between Claire and her ex-husband. Neil explained that the evidence showed manipulation and false accusations, which proved that she was also lying. I can't thank you enough, Neil. This is incredible, thank you. We were together, Neil said with a smile. Claire needed to be held accountable for her actions. We took Neil's evidence and presented our case. The court hearing was very intense. Claire tried to paint me as an abusive wife-beater, but the irrefutable evidence from my friends, family, and Neil helped to expose her lies. The judge ruled in our favor, dismissed CL's allegations, and upheld the original verdict. It was another victory, but it exhausted me. I was determined to move on and focus on the future, and the legal battle was behind me. Sasha and I refocused on preparing for our baby. We painted the nursery, bought little clothes, and attended a parenting course. It was full of anticipation and love. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Sasha placed her hand on her growing belly and smiled at me. Can you believe it? In just a few months, we'll be parents. I smiled, feeling deeply satisfied. I couldn't wait to meet our little one. They were going to get nothing but the best. Mark, as always, was there for us, and excited to become an honorary uncle. Neil, too, had been a steadfast friend, and his insights had become invaluable. As Sasha's due date drew near, we found ourselves surrounded by the love and support of friends and family. The hardships of the past had forged stronger bonds and brought us closer together. One evening, as we prepared dinner, Sasha suddenly gasped as she covered her stomach. Jack, I think it's time. There was a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her voice. We hurried to the hospital, and after a few hours of labor, our beautiful baby girl Lily was born. When I first held her, I felt a sense of love and protection. This little being represented a new beginning, a fresh start full of hope and promise. When we brought Lily home, our house felt more like a home than ever before. The nursery was ready, filled with soft blankets and cute toys. Sasha and I spent countless hours marveling at our daughter, amazed by every tiny sound and movement. Mark and Neil visited often, bringing Lily gifts and expressions of love. Our home was filled with laughter and love that contrasted sharply with the turmoil of the past. One evening we sat in the living room, Sasha looking at me tenderly. Jack, we've been through so much, but we've survived, we've become stronger. I nodded, my heart full of gratitude. We had a wonderful family and amazing friends, and we were ready for anything. Parenting brings endless joy, countless sleepless nights, and endless love. Sasha and I were enthralled by Lily's every milestone, her first smile, her first word, her first steps. Our lives revolved around this perfect little being, and whenever we thought about the joy she brought us, we felt that any challenge was insignificant. A few months later, our home was full of laughter and warmth. Mark and Neil became regulars, looking after Lily like proud uncles. Our close-knit circle of friends became even closer, overcoming adversity and embracing new beginnings. It was a journey we shared. One sunny afternoon, we were having a picnic in the park. Mark came up to me with a thoughtful expression. Jack, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about. I raised an eyebrow, curious. What is it? Well, he began, I've been thinking about starting a new project, a community center focused on sustainable living and environmentally friendly practices. I want it to be a place where people can learn, share ideas, and work together to make a positive impact. That sounds incredible, Mark, I said, really moved. How can I help? Mark smiled and said, I was hoping you would ask. I need someone with your expertise and design skills to help plan and create the space, and I was hoping Sasha could be involved too, as she is passionate about environmental causes. Sasha, who had been listening nearby, nodded enthusiastically. I'm in. It was a fantastic project, and with the support of our friends and community, we threw ourselves into the planning and development of the new center. It was a project with heart, combining our skills and passions to create something meaningful. The project has brought a renewed sense of purpose and excitement, and we have worked tirelessly to turn our vision into reality. As the grand opening of the center draws near, I take a moment to reflect on how far we have come, from the chaos and heartbreak of Claire's betrayal to the joy of building a new life with Sasha and Lily. Our journey has been full of challenges and triumphs. The opening day of the community center was a complete success. Family, friends, and neighbors gathered to celebrate the new space, eager to learn and contribute to the sustainable initiatives we have planned. It was a day of hope and inspiration, a testament to the power of resilience and community. Later that evening, as we sat on the porch and watched the sunset, Sasha turned to me with a satisfied smile. "We did it, Jack. We created something beautiful." I wrapped my arms around her and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Together, we did it, and this is just the beginning. Lily is now a curious little baby, coming to us with wide eyes and full of wonder. She reaches out for me to hold her, and I feel a deep sense of gratitude as I take her into my arms. Our journey has been long and winding, but it has brought us to a time of love, purpose, and endless possibilities. As the days, months, and years go by, our lives continue to be filled with new adventures and precious memories. The community center has flourished and become a hub of innovation and collaboration. Our family is stronger than ever, and with the love and support of our friends and each other, Mark has found true love and is now married to an amazing woman named Emily, who shares his passion for sustainability. Neil continues to be a valued friend, while Allie continues to inspire us all on her journey of healing and growth. One evening, as we gathered with friends at the community center to celebrate another milestone, I looked around and saw the faces of the people who had become our family, friendship, shared goals. It was everything I had hoped for and more. Sasha squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with happiness. "Jack, we have created something truly special. Our past does not define us, but the choices we make and the love we share shape our future." I smile, feeling a deep sense of peace. "You were right, and with you by my side, I know we can face anything." As the sun sets on that perfect evening, I am deeply grateful for the journey, for all the trials and tribulations, for all the joy and triumphs that have led us to this moment. With Sasha, Lily, and our incredible friends by my side, I know the future is bright and full of endless possibilities.